Hello and welcome to day 7 of drawing hands for a week. This is our 1 week mark, so here we are going to look at the progress we have made over our past week. And in order to do that, we are going to look over the hands that we made, starting from the very beginning, which is the very best place to start. First off, we have our base hand from a week ago. We actually have 3 base hands here. We have our quick hand, which had lots of angles on it. As you can see, it's very rough. Obviously, not a very good hand. Although the pinky is decent and the thumb is, just looking back at it, we had a more leisurely drawn hand, which the pinky probably shouldn't be up here next to the index finger, and this line right here is probably a little too much, and the thumb lacks meat. And then we also, in this group, had this stick figure hand that we drew. Because originally I wasn't really planning on going more human figures. I was originally planning to start on stick figures, but that's part of the drawing process, is changing where your aspirations lie, especially when you are just drawing to get better, to judge yourself. Next, we have our first day, and our first hand was this right hand palm. And later on during the week, I started drawing these lines much darker, so that you wouldn't get these kind of weird double lines that you see where I'd brush, just kind of trace over them multiple times. We have our fingernails, we have our cresses for our fingers. It's a decent hand, like the other one. The thumb doesn't have very much meat. The pinky positioning is a little bit better. The spacing is a bit awkward, but it's definitely better than day one. We also have this peace sign, and the fingers are a bit long. And once again, the hand isn't very dark, so you can see all the weird lines going everywhere. And then we also have our palm, which honestly looks pretty nice and honestly could do very much with that dark lining, so you could see it better. But that was before we decided to do that, before we realized that if we trace these lines, these small multiple sketch lines go away. Here we also experimented with some fingerprints on our fingers and vein lines on the palms. So that was day one. Day two, we only drew 2 hands. We had this we tried a small hand and a big hand, and we had this very weird small hand. I like the cresses on it, but the fingers are misshapen. They're thin. The thumb is decent. I think the thumb is decent. You might not. And then we have this large hand, which probably one of the better hands. I don't think it's the best hand in this lineup, but this is where we first started doing the darks, and you can see all these extra lines and how these dark lines definitely bring your eyes towards the dark lines and not the sketch lines beneath them. Overall, very decent. So even from the base to day 2, we see some improvement. Day 3, gargoyle hands. This was our first drawing of day 3, and I love this thumb right here. It's a very beautiful thumb, and then after the thumb, it all goes straight downhill. I tried drawing a finger here, but then I thought that was too short, and then I immediately made it too long, and made it look like a gargoyle or some amphibian or some crime against nature. After that, we tried to do that again with it, but trying to get correct proportions a little bit better. Still, the thumb is not as good, but the fingers are definitely more proportionate. That was day 3. On day 4, this is probably my favorite thumb. I'm sorry, we have our hand where we talked about connecting it to a wrist so that it looks like it connects more with a body. We had our hand, which was supposed to be kind of a repeat of what we did in day 3. This obviously didn't really work out very well. And then we have this arm where we showed that if you add a little bit of curve between the arm and the hand, how it looks a lot better than if it is just straight up hand arm, add a little bit more of wrist. This is probably the best. I think this is the best hand. This one or the one with the wrist on day 4. But I mean, you got nice lines, you got nice fingernails. I obviously wasn't going for this pose when I started. And then at the bottom, we have some of the worst hands, which we try to do a double hand. That didn't work very well, as we drew this one first, did it roughly. We tried to mirror it, and obviously that was a failure, especially with the pinky, this thin index finger right here. The space in the palms is it's not good. But if you look at day 5 versus our first day, or our base day, where we had all these hands, that is definitely a significant improvement. And even though we only drew 2, sometimes we only drew 2 or 3 hands a day for a week, you can visibly see a change. Like, that is all it takes. It takes you a week, 3 pictures a day, and some basic observation skills and experimentation. This was yesterday, day 6. This is probably some of the worst hands, and this highlighted how even though we are getting better, as day 5 showed, that there are still things we need to work on, that we will still mess up. We still will not finish. We will not reach our the goal that we would like to be at. But that is okay, because the goal is not to get perfect. The goal is to get 75% good at something and move on to the next thing. And the reason why you want to complete something 75% is not because you're quitting. It is not because it gets hard. It is because once you learn something 75%, the rest of the learning is all contextual. The rest of the learning, is you implementing what you learned. So in order to then learn how to draw hands even more, is that you will rapidly learn the 75%. The last 25% you will learn very slowly. And that's what you have to do on your own when you're drawing bodies and you continue drawing hands. But as soon as that's when you will refine your skill. That last 25% is you refining your skill. The first 75% is learning the basics. So today is day 7. And the other days we have been drawing our pictures and have made them be basic, fast drawn, and just no going back if we make a mistake. Today is going to be a little bit different. Today I'm going to try and draw a good hand. I'm going to try a good right hand, flat on the table, palm facing the table, and hopefully we can get that. And I will erase things this time. And this is to show you that those were all fast, and now once we can take our time, we can actually get some results. So we're going to start off with kind of a wrist and a fat thing, the fat part where we'll have our the meat of our thumb, the second and the third, and then we're going to kind of make that hook, which makes thumbs look nice. I'm going to have them go in, make sure we show the joints a little bit, so 1 joint, 2 joints, 3 joints, and then also we will go in a little bit, we'll come up, and not that much, and come in a little bit to signify the transition between the thumb and the pointer finger, and we will go up, hopefully in a straight line. straight line right here. We got it. Straight line. We will get our finger coming down and then coming into our pointer. See that right there? You can always already see problems that are happening. See, the pointer is too thick, and this the middle finger is too thick. So I'm going to erase these, and I'm going to try that again. But I'm also going to erase a little bit of the thumb here and try and make the thumb to look more natural by going out just a little bit more. And then there we go. Now we can hopefully make it look a little bit more natural. We got our, oh boy, our first finger ends way above the crease of that one. Our second finger, the pointer, around the same place. Our index, not quite that thick, so, and then our pinky. So the fingers look decent, but this palm now seems a little bit small. So I'm going to try and extend the palm a little bit, and then with the pinky, I'll have this go down and I'll have it come up. And oh, I'm sorry, I can't zoom out anymore. So you see the palm there, we got the curves, and so here's our this is our hand so far. And now we are going to not go over it roughly as we normally do. Now we're going to look at the thumbnail. Ooh, I really like that thumbnail. We're going to go with our pointer, give it a nice fingernail, our index. Ooh, fingernails too. Is that something? Is that there's two ways to do them. You can do them like this arch right here, or something that I just noticed now. You can do this arch right here, or this curve, and both of them look pretty decent. We're going to try and go with the straight one now. So even though this is the one that we're supposed to look pretty, the one we're supposed to look real, we're still going to mess around with it a little bit. In this pinky one, we're just going to try and make a little bit longer than the finger, just like it's a little bit longer. I mean, that's decent right there. Now let's try the knuckles. We'll have one here, right, just a little bit above each finger. Got the thumb knuckle right here on the side as your thumb sits. I haven't really looked at thumbs extensively, so I don't know if all thumbs do this where they're sideways when they sit on the table, but mine certainly does, so that's the way I'm drawing it. If yours doesn't, or you don't like drawing it like that, you can draw it in a way, but I like it because it looks natural. At least to me it looks natural. We'll have our second knuckle right here, right here, right here, here. And then something you'll notice is that these knuckles are really close to here where the actual knuckles would be, because the actual knuckles would be right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to try and draw this like this real quick and see if that looks a little bit better or if that looks worse or what. That looks worse. So can I fix it up? I think I can actually. Yeah, there we go. So let's erase a little bit of this, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. There we go. Get those grooves a little bit deeper. and then draw those last knuckles. Just some things, and then if you want your person to have blood veins, you can go ahead and draw. You can go ahead and draw those on the back of their hand, right here. You don't have to. You can accessorize it however you want, is what I'm saying. But I am going to leave mine not completely plain, but I am going to add those just kind of those tendons, and I'm just going to do that, the tendons that control your fingers, and I'm just going to draw that for now, because I have a theory that if I draw this lightly and then when I go over all of this with a dark pencil, that it will fade to the background and actually provide a very nice aesthetic look. So now that we are done with the ham, I'm going to trace this, and this isn't going to be a fast trace like the other ones. This one is going to be nice and slow. Make sure I get all the details that I wanted, none of the details that I didn't. Make sure I get those curves, ignore those sharp edges. Make sure the lines are nice and continuous, and then when I hit a place like the nail, they stop to show that the nail has priority and is in the foreground. Uh-oh. There was almost a hiccup right there. I don't know if you guys saw it, but I went off a little bit. Nail has priority. Nail priority one more time, and this is the straight nail. Got out a little hiccup right there. The thing is, though, is that you have to be careful with those hiccups when you're doing the dark lines, because I'm pretty sure unless you have a special eraser, it gets really hard to fix those, especially once you've committed. So, long pinky fingernail. Oops, see, right there I accidentally traced along the wrong line. I traced along this line here, but I didn't want that. I want to trace along this line right here. I don't know if you guys can see it. So make sure we get a smooth transition into that, down, and there you go. And then of course, oh, we forgot our thumbnail, and then these. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is our day 7 hand. This right here is an accumulation of everything we learned in the past week together. At the beginning of the week, I drew 5 sausages on a circle. That is essentially what I was doing. But now that with the combination of practice and staring at my own hand, those were the only 2 things I did. Practice and staring at my own head on my own hand. I drew this decent hand. There are problems. This fingernail is ridiculously long. This is straight in comparison to that. It should probably be angled a little bit more that way. But this, it is still a work in progress, for sure. But now, you can see the difference. This is tangible, a tangible difference you can see and that you can act upon, and that makes you feel better and gives you a sense of accomplishment. It is important that you keep doing this, and then whenever if you feel like, man, I didn't do well, man, how am I going to improve? What you do is you go in and you look at your mile markers, like make a mile mark every week where you draw a carefully designed ham. And in that way, you can see how much you improved. Or if that is not enough, go to the beginning. Look at your first hand. Keep your first, most ugly and hideous hands in a safe space so that you can always look at them and look how far I've gone. And that is important when you are drawing. It is consistency, it is determination, and it is, oh my gosh, It is consistency, it is determination, and it is perseverance. You need to persevere. So that has been a week of drawing hands. We will continue to draw hands, but I want you to draw hands on your own, and I will draw hands on my own, and we will check back in a couple of days to see how well our hands look in that time. So you continue on your own, I'll continue on my own, and this was just to show you my first week. So yeah, see you next time.